In early January of this past year, a snowstorm left vehicles and families stranded on Interstate 95 in Virginia for hours and hours and hours. Many people were absolutely not prepared for such an event. They complained of having to, of course, go to the bathroom outside, both parents and children not eating for some of about 24, 25, 26 hours, and running out of gas in their vehicles while they were trying to stay warm. They ran the heat, the gas went out, and now they're cold in their vehicles. These things, while not completely preventable, could be managed in a better way if you have an emergency kit in your car. And that's what I'd like to talk about today. I want to show you what's in my emergency vehicle kit. I fully realize that I can't tell you what should be in your kit because what works for me in my area may not work for you in your area. But my hope is that by showing you what I have in my kit may help you get some ideas for your kit. And if you have any ideas for me, certainly feel free to comment below on some things that I may be missing or may be lacking in my kit. Alright, so approaching the back of my truck, here's the things that I have. I have 6 bottles of water that I've just duct taped together just to kind of hold them together. This is my bug out bag that I've wrapped in a trash bag. I'll go over that in a little bit. This is my main emergency car kit or vehicle kit, and I also keep an empty 2.5 gallon gasoline container so that if I ever had to go get some, I wouldn't have to find the container. I could just go get the gas. So first off, the container, this is a 10-gallon Sterilite tub, and it has a locking lid, which I really liked to help protect it. And I've got it packed full of stuff. So a couple of things right off the bat that are obvious. I have 2 really thick blankets that I've rolled up as tight as I can get them, and I've tied them to hold them in place with paracord. Here I have a little tin, and inside of this tin I have 3 kind of big tea light candles. This could be used, of course, for light and maybe a little bit of warmth. I've never tested exactly how much warmth you could get out of those, but certainly it would be better than nothing. Here, this is just a basic poncho, which if you had to go out in the rain, that would help you stay dry. For toiletries, I did pack a little thing of just kind of butt wipes. This is a foldable shovel that I don't use regularly when I'm camping much anymore, and so I decided to tuck it in here. If you had to do number 2 and use these guys, then that would be the absolute best way, is just to dig a small hole and make that happen. I also have some shop towels, just a roll here of kind of really durable shop towels. This is a container of space blankets. So emergency blankets that would help insulate. There's actually a ton of them in here, but I wanted definitely about 6 of them because I can seat 6 people in my truck, and so that would cover everybody if we had to utilize those emergency space blankets. Alright, moving on, we've got a couple of things of hot hands, which are really handy. Actually, there's 3 of those there. This is a little instant fire starter where you just pour the stuff down and then you would light it and it starts a fire really quickly. Of course, you're not going to use that inside of your vehicle, but if it got desperate and you needed to get outside to make a little small, bonfire or something, you could do it. To help start the fire, of course, I have some fire starters. I've got a couple of big lighters, and I did throw in some extra batteries. So the batteries, by the way, are for my little headlamp. This is just a cheap headlamp that I got off of Amazon. Wasn't trying to break the bank. Those batteries fit in here. I also have batteries inside of it. Just a little trick for keeping batteries inside of things. If you're worried about the button depressing and the batteries going out, what I do is I turn one battery the wrong way, and that stops the circuit from being complete. Of course, before you use it, you'll need to fix it the right way so you can use it. So headlamp, fire starters. I have some more tea lights. There's 3 more of these, so I have 6 total. That would increase the burn time a bit. Now these food rations, this would be desperate situations for sure, but it would be better than eating absolutely nothing. I like these because they will keep in here for a long time. I don't have to worry about them getting too hot or too cold back here in the back of the truck. So while I'm sure, actually I've tried these before, they don't taste great, but it would again be better than eating absolutely nothing and going hungry for 26 hours. Alright, continuing on, I do have a couple of emergency road flares just in case I would ever need that. Here is a little glow stick. You know, I know these things are kind of cheap, but it would be nice to have inside of the vehicle during the nighttime, so if you needed to see or just a little bit of a light, you wouldn't have to blind everybody by using the headlamp. Got a little roll here of electrical tape. Got a couple of pins, and as you can see, a pad of paper here. This is in case you needed to leave your vehicle. You could write a note and leave it in the window or multiple windows, leave something on the dash. You could also take notes on anything that may be happening. If there's anything that needs to be recorded, let's say your phone dies and you've got to record something, you know, you've got it. And then last but not least, I have this little buck knife. This is a really old knife. I actually used to use it in the Scouts growing up as a kid, but you know, foldable, lockable knife. If I had to use it for anything, you know, to make some shavings, to start a fire, something like that, to cut something, some string or just whatever, I would have it. It's safe and it's easy. So that's it for my emergency vehicle kit. I'm now going to show you what's in my bug out bag. Alright, so let's get into what a bug out bag is. The definition of bug out. It's a military term. It means to retreat or to move away quickly, to exit, to flee, to kind of run away. It's a retreat. And so for me, a bug out bag is a bag that is packed, ready to go. So if I had to flee either my home or my vehicle, I could simply grab this pack and I could leave. And I would have enough in that bag to get me through maybe 24 hours, to get me from point A to point B. My bug out bag is pretty light. It's like 16 pounds, and I'm going to show it to you here. So this is the, I think this was the one Tigris, I think it's about 25 liter, maybe 30 liter bag, and like I said, I've got it down to about 16 pounds. Let me show you what's in it that I would use in case I had to bug out. Okay, so here we go. In no particular order, I'm just going to take you what's on the outside of my pack and kind of work to the inner, bigger compartment. So here on the very outside, I have an Ozark Trail, just an El Cheapo multi-tool. So a little pair of pliers. Those are always very handy to have around. I've got my paste beads. I take these with me hiking sometimes, but I find myself not using them a lot. And this could come in really handy if you were trying to scope out an area that was new or needed to keep track of how far you had moved from a location. I have a very basic knife. This is the buck knife. It's just a foldable, lockable knife. Nothing very fancy. It's not some Scandinavian grind, blah, 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 but I can strike a ferro rod with this thing, and I can make some cuts and some shavings and whatever I would need to do to kind of get by, I could use it for that. What's next? This is a small first aid kit. Now this is not extensive. If I got really, really hurt out here when I was bugging out, I would be in some trouble, but this is very basic, just picked it up from Walmart. You know, it's better than nothing first aid kit. I have a compass. This is one I don't use much anymore. And of course, if you're not familiar with how to use a compass, then it might not be worthwhile to carry one. For me, carrying a compass is all about walking a straight line. And if you know how to do that, then a compass is really handy. This is another kind of cheapo thing, a little cheap LED headlamp. It's got batteries in it, and again, my same trick for turning a battery the wrong way in there so that it doesn't automatically come on in the bag and then it dies and you can't use it when you need it. An emergency space blanket, just in case, you know, I ever needed to unfold it and wrap up in it. And then this looks like the last item in the outside pouch, and that is a mirror, a small circular mirror. This would be handy for a couple of things. If I wanted to signal with this, I could do that. If that's not the case, I could also use it if I got something in my eye or needed to see my face. I could use this. That's actually really, really handy. So this is a rain cover for the actual backpack, so that if it was pouring rain, I could kind of keep some of the things inside of the pack and the pack itself dry. I do have a couple of small bottles of water. These are 10 fluid ounces each. This is a small little cook kit that I bought when I first started getting into camping. It's cheap and I don't use it a lot anymore, but it works. But again, it's fairly cheap, and it's got a little pot with a lid, and there's actually a little ladle inside of here. It's a little spoon, which could come in really handy. And then there's a fry pan that's attached. It has these plastic kind of clips, so you do have to be careful that you don't melt those when you're cooking, but they nest fairly well. And if I had to boil some water, it would get the job done. This is a camp towel, so it's rolled up, but you could use it to kind of dry off, to wipe off if you were really wet. Maybe before, if you had to sleep outside, maybe before you would go to bed, you could use this. As long as this was dry, you could use this to try to dry off the best you could if you were wet. And then finally, I have two other things in this compartment. I have a Climate Static V air pad. This would just be, it blows up, and it would be a lot better than sleeping out on the ground itself. And it fit into the pack, so I took it. This is one I bought when I first started camping, and I don't use it a lot. You're kind of starting to see that as a theme. And then finally, down in this compartment, down at the bottom, I did purchase this. This is from Target, actually. It's a Sierra Designs, and I'll pull it out for you. It is a kind of a blanket. While it wouldn't be as cozy as a sleeping bag, it doesn't take up a lot of space, and it would be nice to have while sleeping on top of my air pad. Okay, that was the big compartment. I have one more compartment to go through. So right on the top, this is a little radio. It's a hand crank radio, so it's powered by the hand, and you can pick up some local radio stations, and it also has a little charging cord for devices. Now, I don't know how well you can hand crank it and charge your cell phone, but it certainly would be better than nothing. It might take a lot of work and a lot of cranking, but it would be better than nothing, and this might be a great way to kind of see what's happening out there in the world. These are zip ties or cable ties. These are 8-inch cable ties, and I bought a pack of 100. You could probably lash some sticks together very quickly without having to worry about tying knots. This is strong, it's durable, it's going to hold, and they're super easy. They're lightweight, and I was like, you know what? I'm going to put these in here. So I have 100 8-inch cable ties. I brought some extra aluminum tent stakes. I think there's about 4 of them in this small bag, so they're there. I have a Ziploc bag with extra batteries for the headlamp, and I also have a roll of electrical tape here. So if I had to use something out in the field to tape or repair, I could do that with the electrical tape. I have a wad of cordage. I don't know how much exactly this is, but it's a lot. It's kind of old cordage. I had it in storage. I wasn't using it. I probably will never use it. In fact, I probably will never use any of this stuff, but this is just emergency, right? So I have it just in case. It's peace of mind. Only a couple more things down in here. I have another emergency food ration bar. Again, same for the emergency car kit. These don't taste great, but it would be better than going hungry or starving. And if you had to nibble on this over the course of 24 hours or even 48, you could stretch it and make it work. These are called survival tabs, and they're very similar to an emergency ration bar. They're small tablets, and they're rationed out, that each of them has a certain amount of calories, and if you ate some every hour over the course of a day, you'd maintain some caloric intake. These actually don't taste that bad. I'm not a big fan of this ration bar thing. I've tried it before. These survival tabs, they're not bad. Would I want to eat them all day? No. When I show up wherever I'm going, I'm going to be hungry and ready to eat something substantial, but would it keep me going? Absolutely. There's only one last thing here in the bottom. Oh, I take that back. I do have 2 more things. I lied. I have a life straw. I've never opened it before, but I know how this works. Is you would take this directly into a creek or a lake, and you could intake water, and it would filter out the impurities. And of course, a bug out bag would not be complete without some fire starters. So I've got I've got 3 fire cubes in here, 2 Bic lighters, and a ferro rod. I have a homemade citronella candle, actually. I'll have to make a video someday on how to make these. They're really easy, and it could help keep some bugs away if you were stranded out in the middle of nowhere in the summertime. And then I have a little Esbit stove. So in case I didn't need a big fire or something like that, I might be able to put one of those fire cubes that I have here in this little bag. I could set that in there, light it, and set my container on top and heat up my water or whatever it was that I was trying to heat. Alright, so I thought that I was almost done until I just remembered that I have a tarp in here. This is a 6x8 tarp with grommets. You can buy these really cheap from, most hardware store or just any kind of store. It's an easy throw up tarp that you could get up in minutes and get out of the rain, have a little bit of shelter, and would make bugging out, especially overnight, a lot more enjoyable. You could also, if it was a clear night and you weren't worried about rain or weather falling from the sky, but let's say the ground was soggy or something, you could of course lay it on the ground and you could use it as a ground cover as well. And that, my friends, is my bug out bag. I told myself when I was putting together this bug out bag and my emergency car kit that I didn't want to spend a lot of money, and if I could reuse items that I hadn't used in a while or maybe had in storage, that's what I wanted to do. So that's what I've done when putting this together.